Okay. Good afternoon and welcome. So excited to have George with us today from our PD team. He is going to walk us through Google Slides and how you can kind of reimagine your instruction in the classroom utilizing this with our ecosystem. So, George and friend on his shoulder, welcome, welcome.
And Tara, I'd like you to know that you're still sharing your screen. So
Thank you.
I
So
didn't
let
want
me
to
let
mess
you
up.
share yours.
I didn't want to mess up your intro. Okay, so here's my plan for today. I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas and then templates, and then I want you to go back and basically use this as a pause and play. When you're looking at this thing on the whole concept of Google Slides, I want you to know that it's first taking what you know and then what else you can add to it. Now, a lot of these ideas came from COVID. If you don't remember those times of having to teach virtually, like for instance, this is not a real dog; it's just a filter. I was showing Tara how I use Snapchat a lot over COVID, and Teams has added them to them. So it's just an attention grabber. But I'm going to show you kind of like how I feel like when we're using these things, how these things can be engagement pieces. So let me share my screen and then show you the resource page that we're going to be working from, and then some of the concepts we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to hit share. And then you'll notice right now that even though we're in a Teams recording right now, what I have right here is on this side, this is called Zoom. And the reason I'm using Zoom is because you'll see that I am not only having a dog on my shoulder, but I'm also on the beach. And the reason I'm doing this is because right above here, there's a yellow icon in the Macs. On Windows, it'll be a line. But if you hit the minimize button, what you'll notice is you're a floating head, and the reason I'm going to use this today is because as I'm giving you tips or things that I want you to know, is I can basically use my head, because when I shared my screen, I became some random icon on the side of your screen. But when I do it this way, this allows me to point you, because one of the things you need to know with technology is it can be a little overwhelming when you're looking at what did you click on, what was that button, how did you get there. So for instance, I'm going to tell you that all these resources we're going to be working on is on a website I created, just to kind of put a landing page for Google Slides. So if you notice, it's a bit.ly/slides for all. And this has been a resource page that I've been using for years, just because I felt like if I found a template or if I found something that was helpful for teachers, or I was using this over and over instead of giving just a standard slide deck, a Google site allows me to land all these pages here. The topics we're going to cover today are basically everything's going to be on the home page. So really everything that I'm going to show you is going to be on this one page, but it's broken down into levels of reveal, divided image, how can we create media rich content with Google Slides, and then comic book templates, and then every template I've ever found that would be helpful, I put it in here. We're going to start just on this page, and we're going to scroll down and go through this. So for me right now, if I scroll down, we're starting off with a Google slide. Now, one of the things I love about a Google slide is you'll notice that in Google Slides, there are three dots on the controller. So if you look at the three dots down right here, when you click on them, most of us click on this just to enter full screen. But one of the things I want you to know, especially if you have an interactive tablet or you have an interactive panel or you have something that is touch oriented, when I click enter full screen, you'll notice that on the three dots down here, I have a couple options. The first one you'll notice right here is there's a Google product called Jamboard that was discontinued, and they added those features of the Jamboard into here. So if you notice right here, right below me, is the ability to turn on the pen. When you click on this on a Google slide, one of the first things you can notice is we're going to change today. Okay, we're going to change today. So I'm writing on the slide. We're changing the way that we lecture. And honestly, I should be doing it like this. I use this word because to me, it makes me think death by PowerPoint, how as I was raised. It makes me think about the teacher just talking and talking and talking. And especially when it came to PowerPoint, they were basically reading what was on the writing. Now, if I click on the forward arrow, or if I use the key, the keyboard forward arrow, you'll notice that I just went to the slide that's called divided image. But if I click the back arrow or the back arrow on the keyboard, you'll notice that I just went back to page one and I have all the writing that I had on there. So one of the first things I want to make sure you know with Google Slides especially is you have the ability to annotate. You have the ability to kind of be able to take notes that are just going to be for that moment. Now, the one thing that you may not like, and I'll tell you with Google Slides, I'm going to make sure that you understand how you can use these, is that this annotation is not changing the slide. I'm just writing on it that as long as I'm in present mode or slideshow, as I scroll through this, you'll notice that the writing will stay here as long as I stay in the slide. Once I exit the full screen or exit the slideshow, you'll notice that the pen writing will go away. If I click on the eraser, you notice that I have only the option to erase all. You're not really rubbing it out. It just goes through and the writing goes away. Now, the other option that I'm going to use a lot today that I really love, especially when I'm doing it virtually and I'm trying to get the kids to look at what I'm looking at, besides me being a floating head, is you'll notice that I click on the three dots. I can also turn on the laser pointer. And when I click on this, what this allows me to do, it allows me to use my mouse in a way that you can basically see where I'm clicking and you can see where we're going. Now I go to slide 2. The first thing we're going to talk about is divided image. One of the things I'm going to show you right now, I think this is the simplest way to start. A divided image allows us to put a image as the background. Now here's what I'm talking about with this. When I click on this, there's an image right now that is behind us. It's an image that comes from a textbook. It's an image that is about this big in the textbook. It's tiny. And if you take a picture of it, you can enlarge it or you can find it on the internet. But what I'm trying to do for the students is in this corner, what we've done is we've made a square or a rectangle and we've made a block. So let me go back one more time. So I'm going to click back arrow. You'll notice that when I click forward or tap the screen, the square is revealed. So instead of most of us, when we do presentations, we have the text flying in or we have the text appearing. What we're doing here is we're working in reverse. We have what's there like a puzzle piece being taken away. Now let's do this together. So if you're watching this, you know you can pause it and look at it. But one of the first things I ask is, what do you notice? What do you see? What do you wonder? Now, again, in a classroom setting or in a virtual setting we're in right now, you just see there's a tiny little square in the corner. But if I click on the forward arrow, I did one more thing for the kids in the back of the class. When I click on it, I took that same image and I just cropped it. So now I have it reveal where now we see up close what was far away. So let's do this again. I'm going to click back arrow to make it right now cover up again. When I click the forward arrow, we uncover. And then for the kids in the back that can't see, that want to see more, I go forward arrow and I reveal that section. And I'll show you how to do this. But for me right now, I want to take the simplest pattern, which is put an image as a background. We're going to cover it up with squares, or we're going to cover it in parts. And then what we're doing is if we want to make it bigger, we just take that image and make it appear where it's cropped out with that same section we were just looking at. Now, I asked you at the beginning is, what do you see? What do you wonder? This is a picture from a textbook that is talking about an event that kids don't care about because it's not current. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple things as you're looking through this picture and you're looking at it and going, okay, what is happening with the little puzzle piece that George just gave me? Is one of my favorite ones, and I'm from California, so one of the first ones that I love is this hat that this gentleman is wearing. I had a student once say, "Hey, Mr. B, why is this guy wearing? Is this a fast food worker? Why is he wearing an In-N-Out hat? Because we have a fast food chain that we wear hats like this." And the kid couldn't put together because he was pulling from his prior knowledge what this meant. And I was trying to tell him, "No, you're. I know where you're going, but this is not it. There's something else here." And I say, "Hey, what is he picking up?" So if you look down here, you'll notice right here that it looks like he's picking something up. Now, for the students right now, they don't have enough to be able to ponder this or to be able to say, this is exactly what this is. They're right now taking guesses, and all guesses are correct right now because what they're trying to do is figure out what's going on. Now, a couple things that I'll try to highlight for the students is I'll say, hey, what do you notice about his arm? What is the object he's picking up? I'll ask questions like, hey, what do you think that is, why is his arm in a fist? Or why is this gentleman making the universal sign for what's going on or asking questions? I'll even ask them, where is the action taking place? Where's all the movement towards? Because one of the things I'll tell them, especially in an image that's painted, is that most of the time, every stroke has a reason or has a point. So there's a story here. Now I'm going to click on the forward arrow that allows me to disappear and just leave that one block that I appeared before, that one section. So if I click forward again, or I tap on the forward arrow here, you'll notice that we have uncovered another piece. To make sure the kids in the back can see this, we're going to make it big again, and then we'll continue. You'll notice that we're revealing parts. We start to get into some vocab here. So one of the first things I noticed, that kids have no concept where we're at. We don't have these in Northern California. We don't really have smokestacks. We don't have, what is this industry? What is this thing that is here? The kids will start to notice that more hand pointing, another fist, groups of people talking. There's things happening here that the students start to look at, and they start to put together concepts. They start to look at, okay, what is the story that is happening? Now, the thing that I would encourage you, if you're going to do this, is I want you to think about less is more. So you notice right now, I uncovered the bottom part, then the top part. Four, I have found, is the magic number. If you want to get super complicated and do like 30 little reveals, and you're trying to make it really, really like, epic, it takes a lot of work, and I encourage you to do whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you, if you have a good image, usually in four, you have the ability to set the tone in two. The third one is like the cliffhanger to get you to that final episode. So right now, I did a bigger reveal. You see more of the skyline now. You'll see more of these things down here, which the kids are starting to understand what are smokestacks. The kids will start to see two new characters that don't look like everybody else. Now, if I click on the forward arrow again, you'll notice we're going to zoom in on the characters that are in the story. So right now, I usually love this part because I'll say, hey, what do you notice about these two gentlemen? We'll start with this guy. If you look right now, the hands together, looking at the crowd coming towards them, the sign of his eyes, the images that he gives you of fear, of questioning, of like, oh, something's about to happen. And of course, one of my favorite characters here is the top hat guy. Now, I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite stories with this one is I had a student once. I did this. The student looked at this, pondered this, didn't really talk in class. And then later on, a couple days later, he came over and said, "Hey, Mr. B, I think this guy's mad." And I had said, yeah, he looked angry. You were right. What did you find out in your research? And he said, no, no, no. I think he might have a condition. And I said, okay, Arturo, why do you think that this gentleman has a condition? And then he went into teacher mode and he said, hey, Mr. B, I don't know if you know this, but in this time period, they would dip the top hat in mercury to keep its shine and its form. And what would happen is, on the sweat brim or when it would get wet, that mercury would seep into the brain and would cause something called Mad Hatter disease. And I was biting my lip because I was starting to go, what? And then starting to go, okay. And what amazed me about that moment was that the student took it in another level. It's nothing that was in the book, and nothing that we had covered, nothing that I discussed, nothing that I even knew about. I even looked like, he said, like, just like in the book Alice in Wonderland, all those characters are mad because of the Mad Hatter. And I had not known about this. Now, the reason this became something for me that I was starting to look at is that pictures are a much easier medium to understand from than if I'd given an hour-long lecture, or if I'd given a PowerPoint where I'm just reading it. By giving them the ability to look at an image, to look at what is being represented, to give them breadcrumbs, it allows me to take them on a journey. Now, this is the cliffhanger. Remember, the cliffhanger is the long one, the one that gives you more resources. We got to get them to the season finale. We got to get them to the why. We got to get them to the dun 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 moment. And so right now, as we go into this one, we now have two new characters. We had the gentleman up here that was the fear and the anger, the person in charge, the Mad Hatter. But you'll see that there's two new characters. There's a woman here, and there's a woman over here. One of my favorite interactions in this story, you have the woman with her hand on the gentleman's chest, her other hand in a sign of peace, of calm. You have what I like to call the husband pose, arms out to the side, questioning. I believe this is a husband and wife, and I'm looking at this going, what's going on? What do you want me to do? There's a gentleman picking up a rock. There's all this action going towards the left. There's all this stuff going on. And then the students always fall in love with this character here because there's a mother holding their child, looking up in hope, trying to figure out what's going on. Now, what I love about this image and what I love about this story is one of the things that kids don't get, and it takes them a while to process this, is that this is the immigrant in this story. This is representing of a working class that was in this story. And one of the things that I love when students see this and they interpret this, it throws them off because they'll be like, hey, Mr. B, she can't be an immigrant. She's white. And they listen to a discussion of like, everyone came from somewhere. And there's always been an immigrant class. And this gives them an opportunity to look at it from a different perspective. Now, if I did my job right, what I would encourage you is to give an image to tell a story, and it's in your book already. And once you get to this point and you're showing this, when you get to the next forward arrow, the last thing we need to do is give the title and then give the author or the where they should be looking this up. And you all you have to do is once you give them this, they Google The Strike by Robert Kohler and they get an opportunity to further their journey. And all I did was set the table, the appetizer before we get to the main dish. One of the things I thought was really powerful over COVID is that we had so much writing. We had so much way to interpret, so much way to give information that this gave us the ability to be able to give them something that they could view, something they could take in, something that was simple because Google Slides is a great medium because I don't have to be the only one that shows them this. I could give it to them and allow them to do it on their own search. But here's some of the tips that I want to give you so that you can go through this on your own before we build one virtually right now together. The tips I have for you is find the perfect image. The perfect image, honestly, is in your textbook. The perfect image has multiple elements. If you have a picture of a dog on a raft or a dog on next to me or whatever, you only have two pieces to the picture. You notice there was a left to right or there was the little corners that we picked. It gave us the opportunity to show this, then this. Multiple elements tell the story. Now, number two is know your image. I believe that teachers become like, as you start to teach the same topic over and over and over again, you start to either learn the content in a way that you're basically going into recall and memorization, and you're just kind of repeating yourself. By doing things like this, it allows you to get to that deeper dive that you might be missing because you don't give a chance to present the information where the students can be processed. You're like the person at the museum that tells a deeper story that the students don't know about. So be an expert of the topics you're talking about, and this is a great way to display it. And the final one, the guy that gave me this idea is Ryan O'Donnell. He does a podcast that I love listening to. Look him up. He did something that just changed the way that I thought about teaching. He says the worst thing that we can give the student is to give answers, because once you give the answers, the process of thinking, the process of understanding, the process of doing it on your own ends. So when you don't give answers, you give breadcrumbs. What do you think is happening? There is no wrong responses to the story that we were just looking. It gives us an opportunity to lead them through the discovery process. And again, the quote straight from him, it's not about them having to remember the image. It's the skill in which they got their analysis. One of the best things that I noticed from doing this is every year we would take a trip to the San Francisco Academy of Arts and Science. And we would fundraise. We would do so much work to get the kids there because they'd never been there. And when they would go through there, they would speed run through it. And then by lunchtime, they were done. They were done with the images, they were done with the pictures, they were done with the exhibits. They were done because they just went through it because they weren't taking the moment to analyze, to look deeper. When we started doing this process of looking at divided image and reveal, which is the next one I'm going to show you, is what I started noticing is they wouldn't look at the plaque anymore. They would look in the quadrants of the image. They would look at the exhibit and look for the deeper meaning. What is it? What's the representation? What is happening? What's the other things that are there? The way that they discovered that was that they were going through the quadrants. The other thing too was that they had developed a skill. Like I know for me, learning a new skill is all about getting the chance to practice, like you're about to do, getting a chance to dive deeper, which you're about to do, and then getting the opportunity to see new ideas and new concepts. So for me, divided image allows me to take a painting or something in the book and represent it in a way that's easy for the kids to digest. Reveal, which is the one that I want you to know, is more better for pictures. So I'm going to give you that option today. Do you want divided image where we uncover, or do we want reveal? And what we're going to do with reveal is we're going to draw by using a tool called polyline. We're going to draw the square, or not draw the square, draw the object we want to cut out. It works better with pictures because in pictures you don't have pen strokes, you have historical images. So for the example, let me show you this. Reveal. Same as before, we're going to uncover like a puzzle piece. So if you notice right now, this puzzle piece that we uncovered, if you look at it, it is not a straight line. So what on this one, what we're about to do is when we go polyline, we go through and we click and we drag to one corner, we click and we drag to the other corner, we click, and then when we connect back to the beginning, it creates the shape that covers it up. So if you look at it again, if I go back one arrow, you'll notice that right now it uncovered that one section because I want to give them into bite-sized pieces. Now, again, same question as before. If you're doing this on your own, I would encourage you to look at this. What do you see? What do you wonder? What do you notice? So if you look right now, and I give hints. Remember the breadcrumbs? The first breadcrumb I give right now is the kids will look at this picture and they'll be like, hey, the overalls are different. Most of the kids that are growing up, especially here in California, their overalls are over the shoulder. So if you look at it, the X is commonly for other countries. So they kind of get an image of going, hey, what's going on here? They notice the shoes. And then again, what throws the kids really off is they'll notice there's a scooter back here. And so they think, oh, scooters are brand new. They don't think about the time period or they don't think about the discovery when these were created. So right now, you notice there's a child. It was in my last year of teaching that I had a student go, and I can't zoom in, so let me make sure you guys can see this. Right here, there's a kid's arm and there's another kid's leg right here. I've never noticed that. And one kid came up to me after class and said, hey, Mr. B, why don't you ever talk about the other kid in the background? And I was like, what? There's another kid? Never saw that. Because again, you can always dive in deeper, but there's always someone that's going to take it further. Now, just like before, first square sets the tone, or first object, or first uncover. Second one, what do you see? What do you wonder? So take a moment and look at that. What do you notice? What do you see? You start to see the sidewalk, right? I start to give another hint here. So right now here, I usually tell them, for us, these are usually circles. So they started going, what would be on the ground as a circle? They would start to notice that the manco cover, it's different. It's a different object, a different shape. Now remember the third one. It's setting up the season finale. It's the aha. It's the cliffhanger. So right now, you'll notice that there's another, and you notice all these shapes. Let me go back so you guys can see them. All these shapes are not your normal cutout. We're doing this so that we have the ability to be able to create something quickly and then be able to have it where we have these objects that we can use. So now you notice there's even further. Now, one of the things the kids will start to notice in this image is they'll start talking about, oh, there's kids. They'll start to think, hey, this can be any town USA. They'll start to look at the buildings and go, hey, what could these be? They're starting to ponder. Now, if I did my job right, the air kind of gets sucked out of the room when I reveal the last one. When they see this, they're wondering, okay, why is there a girl here trying to climb? And why is there barbed wire separating the ghetto from the other part? Why are there no parents in this picture? Where is this time period? What does this tell us about World War II? What does this talk about some of the things that happened this is Poland. What happened in Poland? Why would the parents be taken away? Why is there kids? Why is there fencing? If you do this right, up to this point, everything that we're looking at is just like a normal picture. But when we take this last moment to reveal that piece, it gives them an opportunity to hit history, which is one of the most important concepts that if you don't look at something and you don't see it, you don't take a deeper look at it, you'll miss some of the things that are going to happen in the image that are going to take your breath away. And this is one of those ones that I felt that were powerful. Now, again, divided image and reveal. Divided image, great with pictures. Reveal is great with images that are photographs. Okay, so painting versus photograph, you'll see that you can use a mixture of the two, but this is the concept that we have. Now I have some homework for you so you can get started, so you can try this out. The one I gave you is called Manifest Destiny. All the steps to doing this is to be able to do these things right here. Step one, add the next object. You have a choice between using circles, or you have a choice using reveal. You have a choice to be able to start this process. And as you go through this, we're going to click with animation. We're going to use the fade out technique on click. So as you go through your presentation, you're clicking, and then we're going to repeat this for these other quadrants until we're left with the one final shape that we want to do as our big aha. So let me go out and let's do this together. So right now I'm going to exit the full screen. You notice we've been on this one page right here on the slide. If we scroll down, you'll notice that you have your own copy. If you click here, your own copy of Manifest Destiny, your own copy to practice the skill so you can try this out. So I'm going to click on this. I've made this so that it automatically makes your copy. If you're not signed into your Google account, you'll notice that it'll ask you to sign in so you can take a copy of this. And when you click make a copy, you'll notice that it immediately just starts the lesson. So the steps are all here. We're going to try this on our own. Let's do a mixture of the two. Let's pick between using a square so we know how to do this. And then let's do where we cut out what we want to go. So right now, I'm going to cut out the bottom right corner. The tool that we're going to use to do this is going to be a shape. So if you notice on the Google slide, you'll see there's a bunch of tools up here that are like, background, layout, theme, and transition. You'll notice the moment I click on the picture, you'll notice that all these other tools showed up because I'm under something like an image or something that you'll notice the text boxes show up or the pen tool shows up. Let me click outside. Let me click out here in the gray, and you'll notice that the images went back to background, layout, theme, and transition. If you have nothing selected, a Google Slide is a beautiful tool that doesn't overwhelm you because you don't have, like, I remember a lot of time when I was trying to lose PowerPoint as a kid, it was just all the buttons are there. And so it was a little overwhelming. You notice the buttons only show up when you click on something. Right now, all we're going to use right here is we're going to start out with a square. So if I click under the shapes, the circle, triangle, on the drop down, I'm going to pick shape, and then I'm just going to pick the first one. And if you hover over it, you notice it'll say rectangle. Now, when I click on it, you're going to notice that nothing happened. Okay, so notice I just have this little crosshair that's waiting for me to click and drag to create the object. I told you I want to cut out this bottom right corner here. So I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to cut out the object. On your first time, I would recommend you going over so you can see, like, it doesn't matter. You can see it where it's all going to be like overlays on top of each other, but you kind of get a chance to kind of go over the object so you make sure everything's covered. Now, what we did right now is we drew a rectangle by clicking on the circle square. On the drop down, we just picked a shape, and we just picked the first one. You have a ton of shapes here you can pick from, but for me, the easiest one is to be able to use the square one. Now we drew a square. Let's do it one more time, and we'll start to customize it. Let's cover the bottom top right now where the train and some of the other features are there that I want to cover up. So I'm going to click on rectangle again. Nothing happened because it's waiting for me to draw it. And then I'm going to draw the square again, and I'm going to overlap it just a little bit. Now, what I love about these little squares that show up, I think of it as the middle one is like a belt, and the top one is like a pant leg. Like I can squish it, or if with the belt, I can squeeze it. So right now, if I go through the middle and I click on it just to make sure it's in line how I want it to be, I can make sure it matches. And then I have two objects now that I can play with. Now, I'm going to tell you one of the things I do right off the get-go. I really like a black background. I like where the color's out. Sometimes I've started class where it's just set on the reveal or divided image, and it's the screen is just black, and the kids know we're about to get into something. I have one kid that liked to do it like a preview window, so he'd make it bright green, like when you have the when you go to the movie theater and you have the next movie preview. When he would do a presentation, everyone knew we're about to get into this. Pick whatever color you want. Gray, you can leave it that way, but that's just kind of the default. So if you want to make it a little more in depth, when you click on this, you'll notice that when I don't click on anything, remember we only have the four options. We have background, layout, theme and transition. But when I see here the squares where I drew it is right here. When I click on the object, notice that all these other features showed up. One of the new features that showed up is a paint bucket, and the other one is a pencil. The paint bucket is everything inside. So if I click on the paint bucket, let me move myself above it. I'm going to click on the paint bucket and I'm going to make it black. Okay. Let's do it to the next one. Remember, if I click outside of it, see how it went away? But when I click on the shape, notice that it came back. I'm going to click on paint bucket and then click on that. Now, one of the things you'll notice, and then let me say how good eyes you guys have, you notice there's a line here because the line, we left it and it's always like this light gray. You'll notice that it's kind of showing you where the seams are. So one of the things I like to do is I like to click on the pencil, and on the pencil, instead of making it any color, I just make it transparent. Okay, I'm going to click on the pencil, click on it, and then click on transparent. And that's just an added thing because now it looks like one solid shape going through. Now, to practice this, to make sure that I give you enough time to be able to see how you do all these things, is if I click on the object, actually, I'm going to start at the bottom one first. When I click on it, you notice that you have, as you guys go through this, you'll be able to click on different options you have. Now, because my screen resolution is messed up because of the presentation, I had to click on the three dots. When I click on the three dots, on the end, you'll notice I have the option to animate. I'm going to tell you that Google, when they call it animate, it throws kids off every time. They think it's going to do something cool. Animate only means that I can make it appear, disappear, fade in, fade out. So notice when I click on it and this little drop down menu showed up that's under animate. When I click on it, I can now do what the instructions say over here. The instructions on step 2 said add an animation. And on the animation, we want to be click on fade out on click. So let's do fade out and we want it on click. Okay, so if I hit play now, you can test this out. See now, I revealed a divided image that was there that you want to see what is the thing that's back on it is because I clicked fade out and then I did it on click. Let's do this one more time. All right, I'm going to close this to get out of it. When you click on the object, if your screen is not, not full screen, you notice right here, it's on the end. It's usually right here. It says animate, but right now we're going to click on the three dots. And on the three dots, we're going to click on animate. We want it to fade out. So make sure that we don't want it to appear. We want it to fade out. And then we want to do it on click. All right, let's do the last one. We want to cover up the lady that the kids don't know what this represents, what this means. There's a deeper story here, but I want to make sure the kids can see it. So right now, we're going to use, instead of a shape, we're going to go through and see where it has the line. There's a little arrow down to it. If I click on it, it allows me to select what kind of line do I want to use. You notice that you have the boring ones, lines, arrows, elbow connectors for like spreadsheets or something, or curve connectors for like flowcharts or something like that. The one that we want is polyline or curve. When we click on polyline, it's the same thing as before. You'll notice that I only get this little like crosshair. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click. And when I click, see how this blue line is following me? I just left what's called an anchor point. I put a point there that I'm able to kind of click. See now I can bend it. This is how I can make that drawing, or I cut out exactly what I want to, like I don't want any part of this lady to show until I'm ready for that lesson. And then when I connect back to where I started, notice it cut out the shape. Now again, because I have it selected, you notice that right here, I have the paint bucket. I can go black. I have the line color. I can go transparent. And because I have it selected, it's ready for the animation. I click add animation and I want it to fade out on click. So fade out on click. Okay, now those things are done. Now, with everything else being shown, let's just get started so you can see how this all pieces together. I'm going to click slideshow. You guys have my instructions on the left. You can see the drawing right now, but when I click and uncover, I just uncovered the farmers heading west. You have the prospectors heading west. You have, if I click here, you have the trains heading west. You have ships in civilization heading west. You have all this light here coming towards the west where it's dark. You see that what's heading to the west, what's heading from the light, you notice it's the Native Americans. You see the buffalo. You see industry coming from right to left because this painting called Manifest Destiny has a reason. When I uncovered the big lady, the reason I do it this way is because if the students see this drawing first and they see this gigantic Avenger ant woman that's walking up and is crushing everything, they go to something they understand isn't what the representation of this drawing is. If you look at it, in her book is the Bible. Wrapped along her arm is the cord, and a lot of kids don't see this. The cord is attached to the telegram, communication, technology. What are we bringing from the east to the west? What light is going from the east to the west, and what's running into the dark? This is a way to be able to show the representation as you go through your content. How can I share this where the kids are getting a deeper dive? Now, I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure you see that this is all in here. Not only do you have, as you go through this, I have your manifest cacophony, but I also have here, as we go through, is we have templates from students. So I have some student work that I want to make sure that you guys can see this. So you see here, I love examples. So here's an example. This is from students in a school in Canada. They were doing this image where why is everyone praying to this person? Remember the light? The ones I showed the representation of manifest destiny. There's also one in Canada. See how the light to the dark, and then you see the death, and then this image and this story going through. It was an incredible lesson that they did. Is like starting off, especially with the first one, where you have the First Nation chief looking at this man. What does this man represent? There's a whole thing going through, and then this kid went even deeper. The way that they're holding, the way they're the thinking man, the way they're going through the representation of all the men saluting the oath, what they're doing. It was beautiful. I was impressed so much by what they did. Other ones, the paintings. This one, I think it's a Rembrandt. I think this teacher was showing how this story here, if you look at the hands, the masculine and the feminine. So if you notice both sides, I was just blown away by this. And again, yeah, it is a Rembrandt, the return of the prodigal son, of what this story meant and what it was, deeper story going through. So I just want to make sure you noticed in here, there are more examples, but these are quick ways that you can get started and you can see how can I do that. Reveal and divided image is kind of the start. Okay, now once you feel comfortable, I want to make sure you know I've got copies here that you can play with, also with my instructions. So your copy of Manifest Destiny is here. You have a copy, play with it, customize it however you want. The two Fridas is one of my favorite lessons here because the two Fridas, there's two ways to do it. And because of the time, I'm looking at it right now. This is the original and this is the student copy because I showed them one thing and they combined it. So right now I'm going to show you the two Fridas. The first one is there, and here's the one for the one with music because you can add music to your Google Slides. So I'm going to click on the one that has the one with the music so you guys can see this. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to make a copy, and this is what the student did. Okay, now again, I wrote the instructions here, so you read this going through. We did the same thing as we did before, so you notice right here, there's 3 right here. Okay, now, hope this isn't going to blow out your ears. So if I'm going to click on this one, notice right now that when I click on it and I go to like format options, you notice that this notice that this video, you can insert a YouTube video into your lesson and you can have it start. So it's starting, notice it started at 112 and it's going to 310. The kid wanted this song to play. This song, this is No soy de aquí, no soy de allá. I am not from here or from there. And with Frida, they wanted it to start at 112 and 310 and end at 310. Now, here's what we did. We disconnected it so it wouldn't automatically start and freak you out when you open it. But notice what happened. Oh, and it says, see how it says play automatically at start? So see how it says play automatically? When you connect it to the side of the slideshow, so notice there's a red line that tells you you're connected. When I go to present, this will automatically play once it goes into full screen. So watch, it's going to have the music play. So when I click on slideshow, I'm going to tell you about Frida. So so Frida right here is represented right here by this picture. I need. Hold on, let me disconnect because I forgot how loud there's no volume control. So make sure as you guys do this, you notice that it's loud. So I want to make sure I turn that off for a second. So I'm gonna hit slideshow again, so it's not connected. Notice it's not gonna play. But what the kid wanted to talk about, this is Frida Kahlo, the person who drew this painting. This is her indigenous self, and you'll see her heart, and it's tied to something. And then this is her European self. This is the part of she these two were tied together, and her hearts were connected, and the representation of I'm not from here or from there, and living that duality of being of two sides. And it was incredible painting with that song playing, emotional. It gets you because it gives you a chance to have that representation of music inside your slide. The only thing we did, let me show you, get exit on this. The only thing we did when we did this presentation, or we did this, is we took the YouTube video and we inserted it. Now, how do you do that in a Google slide? The instructions are on the side right here. But if you just go through and click on insert, you'll notice that you can insert video. So notice when you go through video, you notice that one of the features in a Google slide is slideshow. Did I stop sharing? Did I lose? Tara, did I? Oh, I'm still sharing. Okay, so right now I go through, I can type in. Oh, did everyone get kicked out?
I'm here. I don't know what that noise was.
Are we good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Oh,
you, and I
okay.
can still see everything.
Okay, I
I
just
don't
making
know what
sure.
that was. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure. So right now, I'm going to click on this right here. If I type in no soy de aquí, the only reason I'm doing this is because I want to find that same song. When you click on it, you see how I can insert it. It's always going to try to insert it on the page, okay? Which is okay, but I just want to make sure you guys know we have customization. We can move it. So let's actually move it to the side here. Let's move it off screen so we can pick it. And since we put it here, we can have it. Let's actually have it play really soft. Let's have it go just for 5 seconds. So I'm going to go 0, 5, and then I want it to go to 0, 0, 10. So 0, 0. So I'm going to go through 0, 0. Is that you, Daniel, or is it so 10? Okay. Now I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
have
me.
it play.
Sorry, buddy.
That's okay. Automatically on click or just automatically. Now, the reason I want to do that is because I want it to play for 5 seconds and just set the tone. And then as soon as it's connected here, now when I hit, I saw the red line. There goes red line. I hit slideshow. Oh, did I not connect it? Or maybe it didn't connect. Maybe my drawing's on top of it. So let's go over. I just want to make sure you know that you can customize this. I can't see it now. 3, 5. So no, the reason I'm saying that because that just sets like your whole theme. It makes you look cool when you're not. And the reason I say that is because this is basically where kids are accustomed to when they watch a video game or they play something. There's just a little like, what's the attention grabber? What's the sound effect? What is the theme song? And I don't have to have it playing the whole time. So the customization there of being able to have a video play and start and stop on your setting is a great thing. I've used it also with quotes. If there's a quote in a movie that's really powerful, but I don't want to show all 30 minutes of it, I take the quote that's being said over my slideshow by just connecting it to the side. Now, again, all these instructions are on the side. All right, let me give you some candy, and then I'll let you know that you guys can go and take all these templates. PDF to slides. This was really big when we were trying to do worksheets. You notice on here, you can make it where the kids can't touch the background. So just so you make sure you know, I'm going to click on these so you guys can see these. This is the instruction section, and this is an example. And the reason I'm saying this, if I click on it, you see here, if I click on this master slide template, it's called Theme Builder now, but this is the original. We took a slideshow of a worksheet that a teacher wanted. And then what we did is we made it so that the students, like right now, 1 plus 0 is 1. I'm gonna mess these up. 1 plus 6. This is 8. But you'll notice right now, I'm able to type in this, but I can't touch anything, I can only click where it says add text. So see where this says name? I can't grab it, I can't move it, but I can come in here and I can type in it. The reason this works this way is because these are text boxes, or what's called a placeholder. And these are images that we put in a Google slide that the kids cannot touch. They can only see it, and they can only enter where you click to add text. The instructions on the first one that I gave you, if you click on format, sorry, it's now under view, sorry, view, it's called theme builder now. If you click on theme builder, these are where all your Google slides are coming from. So you notice right now, this last one, these are all movable pieces. I can move them, but when I go through and click on out of here, when I click on the X and I go out of here, you notice now the person move, but they can't touch it because they can only touch what we placed. All these things are how to take a worksheet that we had before and how can we make it that the kids can basically text and write, but they can't touch anything. All these objects are immovable. The way that we do this is if we click on insert, I'm sorry, view, and go to theme builder. When we do this, it gives us the ability, let's actually mess this up really bad. This gives us the ability, when I click on the X and X is right here, this is the X that lets me get out of this. Notice that this is here. I can't touch it. I can only write on top of it. If I want to fix it, we go to view, theme builder, and then we put it back to where it was, and I can put and move anything I want in the background. When you're in the theme builder, you can customize it, you can change it, you can make it your own. The students can only write on things that you insert, which are called placeholders, and you have multiple ones: title, subtitle, body text. And a new one that I haven't really played with, you can actually put image placeholders where students can put pictures in here. So let's do this real quick. So I'll go image placeholder. Let's do an oval, and I draw out where I want this to be. I want it to be right there. Let's click on the X. Remember, the X is right here. When you click on the X, you get out of the background. Here's this thing. It says replace image. And now I can look at the camera. I can look at GIFs. Can I do GIFs? Oh my gosh. Okay, this has come a long way. Now I can put a GIF inside of it because you put in a placeholder where the students can enter that. I had no idea how I'm going to use that, but that is a cool feature on there that I just adds another to what you're going to do. Now, these are all, you can make your own Facebook page where the kids can enter stuff. There's your button on the top. And then finally, up here, the reveal divided image is where I took you how to build this. Media rich is how we can do the video stuff. So right now, notice here, I have instructions how you can add visuals, how you can add audio. These are step by step on how you can add those things to your slide deck. So the audio one is the one that I didn't really get into, but I can record my voice and then I can upload it. All these steps are there for you. And then the reason I did that is when I click this play button here on my present.
March 20, 1840.
You hear this?
Dear Cousin Mary, today was a hard day. I woke up when it was still dark outside.
I lost all these. I used to have a ton of these with kids' voices on there, but all we would do is use that voice recorder on a Google slide to have these kids reading these things about like the industrial age and what kids were. These are actual notes from kids, but these are just things in there that we can do by clicking that audio button. So just know in a Google slide, you can upload your audio file. I use something called One Online Voice Recorder because it's free. It doesn't save the stuff. You can download it, put it in there. But just know under Media Rich is where you have those, and also how I added the video. Comic book templates. These are just templates that we created where you can go through and tell your stories. So like these are things in here. So from Moby Dick, Justice League, Steph Curry, there's a ton in here. And they're all templates that you can go through. When you click here to make a copy, you notice again, all the instructions are in here for you on how you can get started. So like how you change a word out, how you add images, all the placeholders on how you can insert the thought boxes, different layouts, just ways that you can play with these. What I really want you to do is just give you ideas that you can get started going through this. So making copies is you're gonna have a ton of copies at the beginning because you're gonna click it every time and forget about these, but make these your own. And then finally, the templates. These are templates that you can go through. So like I should just go through these. This is the Dumbledore. You have the Facebook one. You have the newsletter. There's a punch in here as you scroll through these. Have that. Just make sure that as you go through these, just anytime you want something, make a copy, because one of the things that will happen to you is you'll keep looking for this presentation. All these things are in here for you, so you guys can take them and have them all on your own. So they're all templates there for you. Okay. The final thing, and I just want to make sure you guys know, is one of the things I hope that you guys take from this is, one, stop reading your PowerPoints. Stop just going through your slideshows and just giving information from. You can only do one thing. You can't read and listen. So right now, as I was going through you, I wasn't having you read anything. I was having you go through and listen to me as I show you. Now you're going to go back and read, because you notice that all the steps that are in here are on a video like you're watching right now, but you notice the instructions are in each template that you take. The other thing I want you guys to know is, as you guys scroll through, you don't have to do all of them. I made sure that you understood how to do some of them, but as you go through, you may find a template you like, customize it, or more importantly, put it in your students' hands, and you'll notice that they're usually the ones who ended up taking this and going further with it on their own, because they'll figure it out for themselves, and you'll see that they'll be able to pick things out. All right, I don't know why they think he's blinking out. Tara, is everything good?
Now we're good. I don't know if it just turns off because it turned 4 o'clock or what happened.
Okay.
That was weird.
All right.
I
I'll
don't know what
stop
that was.
sharing.
Crazy. Well, thank you, George. I appreciate that. Um, and that George has given you, can we maybe we should we put the link in chat so that it, I know you, I know what it is, bit.ly for all, but would that help for those who come back and watch it later?
Yeah. So I just type it in here and it'll show up.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That way it'll go to the transcripts. Thank you. Mhm.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. We are now golden. Perfect. All right. Well, you shared a lot. That was super cool. I had no idea you could do all those things in Google Slides. I will definitely admit my ignorance there. So I too learned something, and I hope when you're watching this later that you've learned something as well. Thank you again for joining. Thank you, George, for your wisdom and insight around Google Slides. And I hope you take advantage of this information and definitely utilize it to up your game with Google Slides. All right. Thank you all. We'll see you next time. Be well. Thanks, guys.